Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're going to step right into the shoes of a student pilot and explore why aviation safety actually starts way before the engine ever turns on. I'm absolutely thrilled to take you through this, mostly because there's this really common misconception out there that flying is all about what happens, up in the air. But the truth? The true foundation of a successful, safe flight is built entirely on the ground.
So, before we even look at an airplane, we have to stop and ask ourselves this one absolutely critical question. Are you truly ready to fly? We literally have to treat every single flight with the utmost respect and the meticulous preparation it demands. Calm, unhurried, thorough preparation. That is exactly what separates a professional aviator from an amateur. It's all about making sure every little thing is in perfect order before you ever leave the Earth. And like any good flight lesson, we're kicking things off with a pre-flight briefing. First, we'll cover the pilot in command, then we'll look at safety and the paperwork, move on to the external walk-around, and finish up with cockpit checks and checklists.
All right, let's dive right into our first phase, the mindset and responsibility of the pilot in command.
The buck stops with you. As the pilot in command, the ultimate authority and responsibility for the safety of the flight rests squarely on your shoulders. You are the designated decision maker both before and during the flight. And this isn't some casual responsibility to be taken lightly. It dictates literally everything you do from the moment you wake up on the day you plan to fly. This means you've got to check your own physical and mental airworthiness before you even leave home. It starts with the obvious stuff, right? No alcohol in the last 8 hours and being completely free of impairing drugs or medications. But it also means ensuring you don't have respiratory issues because flying with blocked ears is going to be agonizing once you're in the air. Surprisingly, there's even a dress code. You should be wearing breathable, natural fibers like cotton and leather shoes, mainly because they offer some fire resistance. Oh, and of course, make sure you physically have your current medical and pilot certificates in your pocket.
With our mindset locked in and our personal checks complete, it's time to hit the desk for Phase 2, Safety in the Paperwork.
After you've reviewed the weather briefings, analyzed the NOTAMs, those notices to airmen warning you about closed runways or broken navigation equipment, and double-checked your runway lengths, you face your very first major test, the ultimate go-no-go decision. This step is absolutely essential and demands total objectivity. If the weather is looking sketchy or the runway is just a bit too short for your weight, the decision is a firm, non-negotiable no-go.
But let's say it's a go. Now we have to guarantee the aircraft is legally ready to fly. To do this, pilots use handy memory aids like the MARO acronym to verify that all the essential documents are actually on board the plane. MARO stands for Maintenance Records, Airworthiness Certificate, Registration Certificate, Operating Limitations, and Weight and Balance data. If even one of those is missing or out of date, that airplane does not fly, period. Another huge part of that desk planning is calculating your fuel. You have to plan for your trip requirements, plus these strict, non-negotiable minimum fuel reserves, just to take any guesswork completely out of the equation. Flying by day, you need at least 30 extra minutes of reserve fuel at your normal cruise rate. Nighttime, that jumps up to a minimum of 45 minutes. You'll specify the exact quantity and type to the fuel agent, making sure you have a rock-solid buffer for the unexpected.
Okay, paperwork is done. Let's head out to the ramp for Phase 3, the external walk-around.
Manufacturers actually outline a very strict, standardized walking path that we have to follow. It's almost like a choreographed routine. It starts right at the cabin door and methodically circles the entire aircraft. You check the wings, the nose, the empennage out back at the tail, and then right back to the cabin. You're getting a general overview of the plane's condition, sure, but you're also hunting for very specific things along this path. And the walk-around isn't just visual. It's a highly tactile experience. You literally have to get your hands on the plane. You'll physically touch components, making sure the fuel caps are seated with a tight seal. I mean, if they aren't, fuel could siphon right out into the low-pressure area above the wing while you're flying. You're also grabbing aileron and control hinges to check for security, just ensuring all the linkages are safely wired and moving exactly how they should.
You'll be using your other senses to inspect for danger too. You have to physically drain a fuel sample into a clear cup and inspect it. Aviation gasoline, 100 low lead, should be blue, while 100 octane is green. You want to give it a quick smell to make sure it's not jet fuel. And crucially, you're looking for water. Because water is denser than avgas, it'll sink right to the bottom of the cup. If you see it, it has to be drained completely. Oh, and as you walk, you're scanning the metal skin of the fuselage for a gray, powdery deposit. That powder, that's a huge red flag for structural corrosion that needs immediate attention from a mechanic.
Up at the nose, we pop open the inspection panel.
Here, we're checking the engine mounts and the exhaust manifold for cracks. Why? Well, a crack in the exhaust could pump lethal carbon monoxide straight into the cockpit. No thanks. Finally, we physically verify the oil level with the dipstick, and we double, triple check that we've replaced that cap completely securely. Because losing all your engine oil mid-flight is pretty much a guaranteed bad day. Having finished up that meticulous external inspection, we've finally arrived at Phase 4, climbing into the left seat for the cockpit checks and checklists.
Now, before we even think about turning the key to fire up the engine, we go through a strict procedural flow to organize our space. First, set the parking brake. Next, organize your flight bags, charts, and flashlights so everything is exactly where you need it. Then, adjust and lock your seat and rudder pedals securely. Trust me, you do not want your seat sliding backwards during a takeoff roll. After that, flip on the master switch to get electrical power to the gauges and rigorously verify that your elevator, ailerons, and rudder have full, free movement.
Now, while it might seem easy enough to just memorize those steps over time, aviation is an incredibly busy operating environment. So pilots always back up these internal flows with written, standardized checklists. Having that physical guide right in your hand completely eliminates the chance of skipping a vital step due to human error.
And there are two main types of checklists we rely on. Normal checklists use a really concise item and condition format just to verify actions. So it might simply say, fuel on. It doesn't explain the why, it just ensures the condition is met. Emergency checklists, on the other hand, are a different beast. Found in Section 3 of your handbook, these feature bolded or boxed memory items. These are highly critical actions, like how to respond to an engine fire, that you absolutely must memorize and execute instantly to save the aircraft, way before you'd ever have time to dig out the paper checklist.
So what does this all mean? The big takeaway here is that unhurried preparation, unwavering safety standards, and a strict adherence to checklists are the absolute, non-negotiable foundation of aviation. From checking your personal health, to doing the paperwork, to the physical walk-around, to locking yourself into that left seat, you've done the work, the go decision is made. Which leaves us with just one final, incredibly exciting question for all you student pilots out there. Now that you are truly prepared, where will your first flight take you?